Haley Duff, her lesser-known sister.
None whatsoever.
My association was her bit part in Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
She played the popular blonde girl that
which
Pedro
I have
has a
seen
crush
but
on.
did not realize. Okay.
Yeah.
Also,
Did she
she's in
used to
she's in
date
3
Aaron
episodes
Carter
of
at
Lizzie
some point?
McGuire. Hilary Duff dated Aaron Carter, yes, but Haley Duff didn't, I don't
She
think.
didn't date anyone notable. It would be tough being Haley Duff when your sister's Hilary Duff. It would just be a tough lot in life. And she's the older sibling.
Is she?
Being outshined by the younger sibling.
Is she really?
Painful.
Well, she is really older. She's 3 years older, but also their mother is a film producer, so they're fine.
So this was my entire context for them as sisters, and so I assumed that Hillary was older because she plays very much the prototypical older sister in Material Girls.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, oh, sure, that's typecasting. No, okay.
Well, I think that's also just because the two sisters in this, before we get into the key details, like the archetypes are, oh, well, this bimbo has thoughts. And then the other one is a complete sociopath. And, the former does feel like the older sister, for sure.
Yeah, I will say that I didn't find the characterizations completely consistent throughout the film. I feel like they sort of changed depending on what the scene demanded of them at the time. However,
I would agree
correct.
with that. Also, I mean, we need to know, Mel. When we get guests on, we ask them what films they would like to do.
Yeah, it gives a good opportunity to tie them together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you chose Material Girls.
Well, okay, to be fair, I looked at the list and I said either Street Fighter or Material Girls. And you came back and said Material Girls fits best in our schedule. And also, I think you were just a little bit of, ooh, I want to see what Mel has to say about this movie.
Yes, it intrigued me.
So, yeah, and I was 100% exactly equally happy to do either of them.
And you hadn't seen Material Girls
I had not
before.
seen Material Girls, but I'm a real sucker for anachronistic adaptations of, Jane Austen or Shakespeare or whatever. I will watch any and every, like the stereotypical, everything from 10 Things I Hate About You to the BBC version of every Jane Austen. 10 Things I Hate About You is
you've got a
Shakespeare.
face of confusion. I think what Mel's referencing is that this is an adaptation of Sense and Sensibility.
That just clicked for me, and it is so not clear.
It isn't an adaptation of Sense and Sensibility
No, it isn't,
in any way.
Because I hadn't seen the film, I Googled it and went, oh, this is Sense and Sensibility, but in a modern. I would love to see what they do with that, because I've seen all of
the answer is they didn't.
The answer is kind of they didn't. However, I actually prefer something like this where they do to something like, and I think Dakota is a very fascinating actor, but if you watch the recent adaptation of Persuasion, where they do actually follow all of the plot points like beat for beat, but they try to add this weird modern sensibility to it, I hated it.
Yeah.
But if you take something like this, which actually throws most of it out the window, but keeps some of the key things, but it's like, actually, this is just a very modern reimagining. And what would it be like if it happened in an era of step-parents or like quasi-parents that are your maid but actually care more about you than your dad does, and like that sort of thing?
I mean,
so
what
it's
it
Sense
is,
and Sensibility,
that's
but
insane.
not
So
very well.
What we're talking about is it's an appropriation, not an adaptation. And that's what it is. That's the technical term for it, an appropriation. They're taking the source material, turning it into a whole different world. That fucks me up, because I don't look this up because it's Michelle's episode. I just watch the film and I go in blank.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, there's no way Abby's going to know this.
I didn't
There's
know.
Zero chance.
And the thing is, I am incredibly familiar with Sense and Sensibility.
I know.
I grew up with a lot of BBC.
You showed me the movie.
I grew up with a lot of BBC adaptations. I'm all about it. This did not register at any point that it was to do with
Emma
with
Kate
Kate Winslet.
Yes.
Like now I realize
Ang Lee.
Well, now I realize that Haley Duff was meant to be the Eleanor character, and Hilary Duff was meant to be
watching
Marianne.
all of this click for you in real time, and I know that we're an audio medium, so you folks cannot appreciate how much I'm watching Abby like the pieces together. You're like the meme of the person who's looking at the whiteboard and like seeing the all of the elements.
This is the Charlie Kelly, like you're tying it all together.
This is fantastic. So it's Sense and Sensibility, and as soon as I saw that, I went, "Oh my god, I must watch this."
It is not. It is just
it's not
is
really.
it? It's just two sisters that lose what they have. That's it.
They take a couple of the other points.
Like
they
what?
do.
Like
Look, we'll get into it. We'll get into the key details. We'll move on.
I can't get over
We'll
this.
do it.
This is a travesty. How dare that? And I've read a lot of Sense and Sensibility appropriations. This is a travesty.
So, key details. Like I said earlier, this is from 2006, which I think Abby and I, we've discussed before, like, that is the year with the most films.
It's a cursed year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The director was Martha Coolidge, another female director. At this point, we've lost count, which is...
Oh, that's amazing.
what a
There's
world we get to
definitely
live in.
no sexism reasons for this being on the list
Sexism
at all.
has been defeated in the film industry.
She directed Valley Girl with Nick Cage, which is like the movie that kind of launched him. A movie called Rambling Rose. And she was also the first female president of the Directors Guild of America.
Oh, fucking good on her.
Yeah,
No
so-
relation to Jennifer.
No, I looked it up specifically. She is the fourth cousin of Calvin Coolidge,
Really?
The American president?
Yeah.
Okay.
Calvin
So-
Coolidge is fascinating.
Unless Jennifer Coolidge is also related, then I don't think they're related to each other. But
Wow.
she's just a filthy little nepo baby. This movie was starring, as we said earlier, Hillary and Haley Duff, Brent. I don't know whether it's Spinner or Spiner. I'm gonna go Spinner.
How many
Brent
Ns?
Spinner. One N, which
Spiner.
I guess
Spiner.
is just Spiner. Brent Spiner, Angelica Houston, and Lucas Haas, which also means
Baby Lucas House.
baby Lucas Haas, which also means returning actors Hilary Duff from Food Fight,
Yes.
Haley Duff from Food Fight,
Yeah.
and Brent Spiner was in Superhero Movie in a small part.
All right.
So there we go. And the budget was 15 mil.
Okay.
That hurts my soul.
It made 16.9. So flop.
flop.
I did find somewhere that it apparently grossed over 12 million in DVD sales, which would suggest it kind of ended up profitable. But I could only find that on some website called The Numbers, which does seem to have a lot of movie data, and I don't know.
It's also one of those things where production companies are rewarded for making it seem like it made less money than it does, unless it's a
Yeah.
mass. There's this weird tipping point, and I'm not sure where it is, where, you know, when a movie starts making Avatar numbers, obviously they want to project, look at how successful this is, but under that, they really want to underreport how much it made.
it's
so they
actually-
don't have to start paying off any on the back end.
It's not within the one movie, right? It's more about across the company. Because if they can say the movie didn't make a profit, then they can put that as a loss. And so this movie that made a ton of money, they don't have to pay tax on, because officially the company didn't make any money because this other movie didn't make any money. That's crazy.
Those poor billionaires.
It's so hard for them.
Also, can I ask, is this the first appearance of Angelica Houston on the list?
It is.
I fucking
Thankfully.
hope so.
Yeah, me too. I'm obsessed with Angelica Houston.
She's the only person in this movie who at all so Angelica Houston and the parody scenes of the soap operas are the only things that are consistently
Yes.
in this movie, know exactly what they are doing
I
and do
literally
it to perfection.
have a
She's too
note
good
that
for this
is
film.
the difference that a real actress and close-ups do for this movie. It's the scene where she's like sparring them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
It's
was
a good
the strongest scene.
Yeah, she's like, let me let
Angelica.
handsome nameless man rub your temples.
Yeah, it wasn't just
yeah.
a loose wide with a bunch of like first-time actors.
My like queer sexual awakening was a photo of Angelica Houston in the 70s in like riding pants and a singlet on like the back of a chair smoking.
Oh my
I was
God.
like, that's so hot. And I had it in my year 12 like fucking notebook.
All right,
the
I think I
entire
just
time.
had another queer
we're
awakening.
gonna have a follow up for this where I'm gonna ask you to send me this photo.
I will send it to you.
we don't have to record that one, but it's
As soon as this is over, I'll find it and send it to
Thank you.
here's the full overview. Marchetta Cosmetics heiresses Tansy, short for Tanzania.
Okay, wait. I know that you got 3 words in. What's with that? What's with that name?
Well, it's that era where you would call people Paris
Asia.
or London or Asia.
Yeah.
And so I guess Tanzania, it's exotic. Oh my God. We can just take that. It's ours now.
It's not like Ava had an exotic name. It's not like the names are at all linked with each other.
Tanzania.
Okay, go on. Sorry.
Tansy and Ava are typical Hollywood socialites who, after their father's recent death, that was never specified that much, are being slowly handed responsibility over the company by their trustee and family friend, Tommy Katzenbach. However, while fighting to fend off a corporate takeover by rival Fabiella, a media scandal breaks that Marchetta products can cause major disfigurement. The company's reputation is instantly destroyed, and a distraught Tansy and Ava accidentally burn down their lavish home. Easily the most insane part of the movie.
Oh, and does the smoking ever come back?
No.
No.
Which also, 2006 was this weird borderline where like having the character smoke wasn't quite yet a full statement, but the other characters very much react with like, oh, you're smoking!
Oh no,
Smoking indoors was still legal in Australia in 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we love smoking.
Oh, we do.
But you have that thing where she's like punished because it burns her house
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
So
They quickly learn that much of their assets and wealth belong to the company and so have been closed, cancelled, or cut off. As they begin to be
Alliteration for the win.
rejected by their wealthy friends, they get help from their family maid, Inez. To try and prevent the now much lower offer from Fabiella from going through, the girls decide to investigate the disfigurement case and save their father's legacy. With help from charity lawyer Henry and Marchetta lab tech that Tansy has mistaken for a parking assistant repeatedly, Henry...
Class issues.
John? I can't remember his name. They discover the woman in question was not disfigured and that the Marchetta test proved the products are suitable for use. Sorry, I'm laughing because I just remembered how sympathetic it's played that she has mistaken repeatedly this lab scientist for a parking assistant.
And she's like, why did you park my car?
He's one of the only
nice.
2 brown people in this movie as well.
Okay, so weirdly, I think that is... Sorry, you're not even done with the summary
It's
yet.
fine.
You're gonna
This
have
movie's
to re-record.
wild.
I think it's actually meant to be this weird positive commentary on race culture where like you're an asshole because you think that he's the parking attendant because he's brown and that's why you're a dick, but then like she comes back around and they live happily ever after. It's so
It
weird.
feels like a movie
politics of this
written by
movie.
these characters as sympathetic, is I think the problem.
Yeah, I have so much to say about like the portrayal of anyone that isn't white in this film.
Oh,
The-
it's so strange.
To finish off the overview, confronting the board and Fabiella, they reveal that Tommy was behind the plot in cahoots with Fabiella to intentionally devalue Marchetta's stock in the hopes of a corporate buyout. The sisters take over control of the company and successfully turn its fortunes around. That's the end of the movie.
If you're confused because we've broken up Michelle's attempt at explaining this, don't worry. It's not you. It's not us. It's just this movie. Like
the movie.
the plot points just keep happening.
Yeah.
And again, it's meant to be, I'm not to bring it back to Sense and Sensibility, but if it's meant to be an appropriation of Sense and Sensibility, it doesn't even attempt to really follow the story of it, because it's not like the girls in Sense and Sensibility get swindled out of their inheritance. They do a bit, but the story's not about them getting money back or getting control over the estate again. It's just about them moving on with their lives.
I think the biggest problem with the movie is that it never successfully makes the foundational case that it has to in the movie, which is why don't they take the $100 and then later $60 million each?
Yeah.
Because it tries to by having them go like, oh, but our dad. But there's so many times where they're in like desperate financial trouble and every other poor person is like, you are talking about you're annoyed at $60 million. And they go,
It tries to be like, oh, but if we took that, it's admitting our dad did all these bad things and we need to save his reputation. But even that, like, it's like scene to scene, that changes. This is what I mean by like, there's no consistency in characterization whatsoever.
Yes. And you can't be sympathetic to characters that will either get like infinite money in the future or $60 million. Like there's no stakes because it's like either way you'll end up rich.
Yeah.
One way or another, you'll come into that inheritance.
if they stayed rich, like before the media scandal breaks out and it's like, you're going to get $100 million. And they're like, no, we want to fight for our father's legacy. I'm like, that's a movie I would watch, even though they're still entitled and spoiled or whatever, because they're fighting for a thing. But when it's like, they are poor and they would like to not be poor. No, not $60 million rich, but you know.
To play the average white guy, to play devil's advocate, I will say that if you are adapting Austen, you also have to understand that most of Austen's heroines are like, oh, but I'm about to be poor. They have servants. They have two or three houses. They have horses and carriages.
Because
so,
the family is a company then, though.
Yes,
like
that's
all of
what
the
this movie's
servants could be-
kind of trying to do. Not well. I'm not arguing it does it well. I'm just arguing that, like, I can see how 3 drafts ago it made sense.
Yes.
I'm with you then.
Yeah. Definitely there were too many hands on the script at some point because it completely,
I think probably what happened is someone wrote a Sense and Sensibility adaptation and then someone managed to get Hillary and Haley Duff attached and then they drastically rewrote it in this way that they're trying to make it, I'm assuming the timeline of her trying to break out from the Lizzie McGuire thing, they're trying to make it not a Disney movie and in doing so make it the most Disney movie possible.
yeah.
It sounds like the same thing of like, is it built yet or whatever? The like the Ice Cube one we did where he had to build the house in the woods. That was like a sequel to Are We Done Yet? Are We Done Yet was the movie. It was like a sequel to Are We There Yet?
Yeah.
But it was also like a remake of a 60s movie and you're like, no, it's not.
No,
Those
it
are two
isn't.
different scripts and then they got
Nice
Ice Cube.
try. Yeah, exactly right. And you can tell that when they were pitching it, they were like, it's a modern day appropriation of Sense and Sensibility. And people were like, tick, tick, tick. But none of that came to the screen.
No.
Whatsoever. They didn't even attempt. I'm sorry, I'm so hung up on it. They didn't even attempt to make the romantic interests at all similar to the romantic interest storylines in Sense and Sensibility. Willoughby's not there.
There were a
There's
couple
no Willoughby.
there were a couple of lines when they introduced the lawyer guy at the beginning that felt like, no, if you go back and rewatch it, you'll notice not characterizations, but literally one or two lines that characters sort of like throw away. I know. I'm just saying they must have been in the original script.
I could tell he was a romantic interest, not because of those lines, but because it was 2006. And that means when you send in an awkward but charming white guy with a mop of hair, you're like,
Floppy
this is the
hair.
unexpected love interest.
Yes.
But say if Haley Duff is meant to be the Eleanor, that means that the floppy-haired guy is meant to be the Hugh Grant character. He's meant to be Edward. He's nothing like Edward. And therefore, it means that Hilary Duff must have a Willoughby character. There's no Willoughby character. She doesn't have a guy that mistreats her and she falls in love with the far more sensible older gentleman. They make no attempt.
It's Tommy.
The ex who they were engaged and then he ignored her as soon as he lost the fortune. I think originally was.
But isn't she meant to be Eleanor, not Marianne? It belongs to the wrong character.
Now, right, but you are trying to make a one-to-one comparison. And I also
am,
think
and
that's a
that's a good
casting issue.
appropriation.
That's a casting issue and them going, oh, well, they wouldn't want Hilary Duff to be this, so it must be Haley Duff who gets rejected.
But the
Guys,
thing
this is a movie
Clueless-
where scene 2 has them struggle to get out of a car. And when Hilary Duff says why, Haley Duff says, oh, it's like that on purpose. It's so anyone who's ever gained baby weight can't fit. We don't need to unpack the movie in the way that we have been doing this.
Okay, let's talk real quick about those opening scenes because
Yes, please.
they set the tone for the whole thing.
Yeah.
First of all,
No fat people is the main tone.
They walk into no fat people, obviously, and like the whole thing where she pretends to eat pizza and she eats like
a nibble.
it's the worst pretending to eat food in film that I think I've ever seen. So yes, but the opening scenes, they get out of the car, they walk into this club that's clearly trying to be edgy. They pan the camera really quickly past these people that you think maybe are pretending to faint at being strippers. So like, woo, edgy.
Also, I'm pretty sure they do a split screen thing at one point.
Oh,
where they're
several
like,
times.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
There's so many like weird early 90s crossfades and transitions, and I can only imagine the editor like dying as they dig deep into the Final Cut Pro archives of all those like transitions that are just leftovers from like Final Cut 3 and go, sure, I'll throw this on.
Yeah,
That'll change
lot of
later.
Star
And
Wars
the director's
wipes.
like, yes, I love it. It's Star Wars. Oh, it's crazy.
One of the split screens I even wrote down is a bit with it's my favorite bit. They're trying to sneak out and they go through the car park. The parking assistant, lab tech, is like having the car driven and they're sneaking alongside it to avoid the
Yeah.
paparazzi. And so then they come around a corner. The shot is like a mid two shot of them coming around the corner. And then a split screen comes across that is the exact same shot, but a bit wider.
It's just them scurrying around a corner.
It's just the same shot. It's not anything.
It's delightfully bad. Like the editing and transition and scene cutting.
What scene cutting? Every scene in this was like, oh, we're in the scene.
Yep.
Why don't we just cut to a wide and play some underbed music and then suck every piece of energy out of that room?
Correct. It's
Every time there's a close up, I'm like, a movie's being made. We're here.
I just also need to call attention to something right at this moment before I forget. No, I don't have ADHD, Michelle. Haley
talk.
Duff's character, Ava, why did they make her look like a mafia wife? Why did she have coiffed brown hair with highlights?
Coiffed?
Swept,
Coiffed?
coiffed?
Oh, I don't
Coiffed?
know. Sure.
Technically, I think a coif and a quaff would be different.
Well, if you quaff something, you're drinking it, I guess.
I thought it was a coif.
Anyway, and so much bronzer.
Coiffed hair.
Coiffed hair. Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, like, she looks like an Italian. Like, I'm like, oh, she does look like Camilla from like The Sopranos if she had brunette hair. Like, it's bizarre. Why did they age her up? Why did they do that to her? She got done dirty. Hilary Duff looks like a woman her age. She looks like young and flirty and oh my God. But they did Haley Duff dirty in this film.
But I do also think they made them dress in that classic. It's 2006. I could have sworn it was 2003. You know, it's that classic mid-2000s crimes against fashion being passed as fashion. 80 layers, like a mini skirt over jeans, which also has like a belt that isn't actually running through either one.
a jacket that it only goes up to like the bottom of your armpits.
Yeah, Yeah, which is over your shirt, which is over another shirt.
It's got one button to put it up, like to do it up, and it's over a tiny mini dress that looks like a slip.
And it's bad enough, but to do it in a film that is constantly attempting to make a joke about, oh, that's 3 months out of fashion. You're like, what? You're just drawing attention to it? It's so
This
bad.
was the era when Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears both wore double denim. Like, it's
Canadian. That is a classic Canadian tuxedo. How dare you malign the
I have to
double
be
denim?
more mindful. I'm here with the North American guys. We have to be respectful.
I will say, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes again. This movie's so fucking
We've
weird.
gotten like 2 lines into Michelle's notes.
Michelle's like, come on, guys.
No, this is perfect. It's more just me remembering. I watched this movie this morning and already I'm like, how
Have you seen it before?
No.
Okay, so none of us had seen it before this.
No.
Oh, delightful.
But this is one of the upsettingly few movies on this list that I haven't seen before.
Michelle's seen most of them. It's bizarre.
It's really frustrating for my personal reputation. But just so many of the moments in this are wild. Like, for example, when they're trying to show connection between this supports my theory that this movie is written by the characters to try and make them seem sympathetic. They're trying to show a connection between Hilary Duff and the fucking guy, the lab tech guy.
Is his name Rick?
Rick. I think it is Rick. Okay, Rick. Between Hilary Duff and Rick, they're trying to show the connection between them after I think they've like broken into the lab and stuff. And in particular, she says, because we've seen repeatedly that she likes chemistry, you know, such as earlier when she mixes together rose water and avocado. And she's a fucking skincare genius because she knows that's good for your skin. And she says, I wrote this down, I actually really love chemistry. And then he says, no way, me too. That's why I work in the lab. He's a chemist. He is a chemist. We know he likes chemistry. That's fucking insane.
The only other foreshadowing of that we get is there's a line between the two sisters, and she suddenly, out of absolutely nowhere, she starts like spouting off this weird equation. And Hilary Duff's like, what? She's like, you know that, like, you know, chemistry something calms me down. And that's it. That is the only, like, she's, at first she's just talking about like fashion and boys and oh my God, and nail polish. And then she like, it's like all these theorems. And then she's like, yeah, differential equations calm me down. And you're like, where did this come from?
Chemistry
Just because you
calms me
needed to set
down.
up this. It's the weirdest characterization.
I
It's
also-
so wild.
I love when like they're showing the initial attraction between Hilary Duff's character, like Tansy, and Rick, where she gets out of the car and she sees him and he says, oh, do you want me to park your car for you or something? And she goes, yeah, thanks. And he goes, okay. And she goes, thanks.
This
and he's
is-
like, you've said that already. And she goes,
This is also a film where the other time they let someone park their car for them, it's a joke about the fact that they think there's valet parking and it's actually someone stealing their car.
not
And
just
also
someone,
was
it's good
Benji
Charlotte.
It's Benji and Joel Madden.
Who she was dating at the time.
Yeah, wasn't she like 16 and he was 25 and it was genuinely illegal
What?
and fucked
Wait,
up?
what?
No,
What?
yeah. This is fucked. In 2004.
Wait. Sorry. All of them were Good Charlotte, as in the band?
No. Good Charlotte is Joel and Benji Madden
And then
primarily,
they have a band
and then
behind
they
them.
were there. Oh yeah, sure.
They were
but that's like Maroon
They
5
were the
is
guys?
multiple
I'm
people.
so
The
confused.
They
two
were the
guys were
guys.
the two twins.
Oh, was I supposed to recognize them?
If it's 2006, in 2023,
Okay.
you're not under any crimes for.
Because Joel Madden worked on The Voice Australia for so long, he was always in Sydney. And one time I was having lunch with my mum and he was like on the table next to us and he sounded like such a dick.
So this is a cameo.
Yeah,
It was a cameo because he was dating Hilary Duff.
This
See,
is
what's
2006
weird is
a
the way
peak
that it
Good
was
Charlotte.
framed. The way that it was
Yeah.
framed, I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to know these people,
I
but
thought it was
maybe it's
Lucas
just
Haas at
bad
first.
frame. Like, terrible framing.
Well, also, yeah, she was dating Joel Madden.
Hilary Duff?
Hilary Duff was dating
Yeah.
Joel Madden, the blonde, and she was 16 and he was 25.
Oh my god, you're right.
Yeah,
Ew.
and it was genuinely fucked up and illegal, and no one wanted to talk about it because they knew she was underage.
They didn't want to talk about it, but they would cast them in the same
Yeah,
movie.
and they would like report on them being like, Hillary and Joel have stepped out today. He's 9 years older than her. She is underage. And like they were just like, it's fine because it was 2005 and it was just, it's bizarre. It's fucked up.
That's fucking gross.
It's gross
Oh my
as.
god.
Like,
Thank,
Wow, I
genuinely
feel very
illegal.
bad for her.
thank God it was
Yeah.
just July to November of the same year. Like that's the only positive I can draw out of it is that it wasn't long.
I don't know if that's any better. I feel like if they'd been together for at least 4 years, it was something substantial. It almost feels worse if it's a fling.
No, because then it's still like evangelical youth pastor, like, oh my god, I knew her since she was 12, and then now we're married. You know,
True. So yeah, that's a little tidbit of info.
Dark tangent.
that's-
I
laid
did
a lot
not
of stuff on Mel.
recognize / know any of this.
but yeah, I didn't know those
Yeah,
details.
right.
Thanks, Abby. We've
You guys are welcome. It
added to
really
the
bummed
mood.
us out.
Was this something that was like at the time you knew that?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, it's just something I've always remembered. It was like, oh yeah, Joel Madden when he dated that underage girl and everyone was fine
Is
with
it like the Seinfeld thing where everyone just still knows and doesn't talk about it?
Exactly.
Except
He never
apparently
actually
me?
got,
Boom, but no,
like
boom.
pulled up for it. Like no one ever said that's fucked up. Michelle.
Michelle has a second career in beatboxing.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
We have to talk about Inez and
Oh my God,
the
yeah,
whole
we do.
storyline
We
around
do.
her. Just because I was thinking when the film ends, the
Yes,
whole thing is that she
thank
talks
you.
about how they're her daughters, right?
They're her daughters.
She talks about how she can't get them into the country because of immigration post 9/11. And at the end
And
of
also,
the film,
it's expensive to bring your family from Colombia to the
Yes.
United States.
But your dad was going to help me. Like that was like that tug at the heartstrings line, right?
and then you're also left thinking, why did no one help her sooner? That's so fucked up. And then at the end of the film,
America.
the girls are successful and she's got her daughters back and they're now in their beds and it's a happy ending. And you're like, why would you pepper in such a genuinely emotional, heartfelt side story and not just make a fucking movie about that and not two girls that lose their
But
inheritance?
also, she has the daughters, which means like the implication is that the two sisters, helped her get the daughters.
Yeah.
Which to me, like they had infinite resources prior to this
Yes.
point,
Why
which
was it
means
not
they
brought
they're
tried to play it
evil.
off. No, they did try to play it off like they didn't know.
Yes.
So she's like, my daughters,
That's
and they're
not
like, you
better.
have daughters?
That's
No.
not better.
But the film thinks it's better, which again supports your theory that it's written by. Like
This
when
is what
she
I
talks
mean.
about her daughters, like, oh, you have children, and
This is like the
obviously
fucking New York
film
Times.
is like, oh, if they'd known, and you're like, wait, she was their maid, housekeeper
20 years?
for 20 years, and
Yeah.
you never knew she had daughters.
Reading an
Yeah.
article
Yeah,
of like
absolutely.
CEO found out that their worker is in hospital, so they paid the $40,000, and I'm like, that's not a happy story.
No.
Yeah.
That's deeply evil.
It's deeply evil on so many levels because like the first level is, yeah, your dad knew and was quote unquote trying to help you. Yeah, no, had infinite resources and never
Yeah.
actually did anything. So it was probably just lip service, right? And also
craziness.
you never talked to your maid and now you're asking to treat her. And again, it's this character and every once in a while she gets these like, I feel like the actor is really trying. She's got these like asides that are like, yeah, you should have known that this was happening.
Yeah.
But it's not in the script. This is clearly just the
Yeah,
actor.
Maria
that's the
Conchita
thing,
Alonso
putting-
is like, you are fucked up.
Yeah.
In the
She's
real
like just-
world, she is the protagonist trying to get her children back,
Yep.
and her employers are the villains that aren't helping her. And it's like-
Absolutely.
so it's like, why are we meant to be
movie.
sympathetic? Exactly. I'm like, why are
guys,
we
it's
watching
called
that?
Knives Out, and it's really good.
Yeah. I was like, why are we watching that story? And why are we instead watching the story about these two rich girls trying to stay rich? That's just tone deaf.
Yeah.
It made me genuinely angry.
Actually, speaking of tone deaf, one of the other things I thought was wild. There were two different things I thought were wild that were, I feel, similarly racial. One was she's telling the sub story of how her mum isn't around. I think Ava was telling it. Of like what happened to the mum, which was like, oh, she's a model, and now she's off with an Egyptian prince, calls herself Isis.
ISIS, yeah.
Very funny in 2023, very different in 2006.
Yeah.
Calls herself Isis and says that we're her cousins. And my immediate reaction, my darling girlfriend Brooke was there when I was watching it, and I immediately turned to her and I was like, Egypt doesn't have a prince. Is she getting like Nigerian prince email scammed? Like, do the writers not know that? It's so easy to know that.
Doesn't
so
Egypt
easy.
have a president?
There were multiple lines in this movie where I'm like, okay, surely somebody in production, whether it's the writer, the director, somebody realizes this is funny, right? And it's intentional, but it's very difficult to tell.
No,
I'll
it's
tell you,
very
most of the time,
serious.
it's Hillary Duff.
Most of the time it's serious.
Yeah.
But like every once in a while there's something you're like, this is so fucking so very absurd and out there and like such a stretch for you to get to this joke that it has to be intentional.
Yeah.
It's such a very tonally weird movie where like they will
100%.
swing from dead serious, my mother abandoned me, my father's dead, I don't know how to navigate the world, to just the absurd slapstick.
Or, for example, the bit at the end where they're finally confronting Tommy. Hey. And then the
assistant, who's the black man who breaks
Yes.
into that
who breaks into a strange rap and
who
then
breaks
like
into a very strange rap /spoken word poetry,
And then
the
out of
actor
nowhere.
commits.
he fully commits,
fully
but then
commits.
afterwards he like grabs his head as if he's like coming out of a stupor, as if like the spirit of rap has overtaken him.
And he was the one major, like a main black character in the film, and they made him do a rap. at the end of it.
Out
I
of
was
nowhere.
like, this is, again, tone deaf, insensitive.
He's the Bluetooth
Tonal
guy.
whiplash. I just had no idea how to take
It's just the
any
amount
of it.
stereotypes this film pulled out and thrust on all the side, like on all the side characters.
But
was
also,
offensive.
if you told me that this film had, I don't know, pick a number out of it, had 18 different directors and they each directed like 4 scenes, I would 100% believe you.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, you know
Same
what?
with the
You're right.
script. I feel like it could have had 20 writers over 3 years.
Well,
Just
like,
coming back and doing it a new draft every time.
Similarly, a joke I thought was actually kind of funny but a little underplayed was, Tommy, the Brent Spiner character, who, by the way, was fucking Data in Next Generation. So seeing Mr. Data go from being like, oh, yes, to being like, hey, come on, kids, we're doing this together.
I hate to ask this because I sound so ignorant. Is Next Generation Star Trek?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry,
I've never watched anything Star Trek related because I'm a fucking loser.
Next Generation's pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to. There's like 8 of them now.
Yeah.
Next Generation's the show, right? Like, the original is good, but it's very dated.
Yeah.
And then that one is like the This Is Great TV show, right?
Good to know.
Yeah. But a running gag with him is that he missays words. He gets words wrong. So I have a list. I only found 4, but I feel like there's a 5th one in there I missed, of precipitatiously, disfortunately, extain instead of abstain, and symphatico.
Yes,
They call a couple of them out in a weird way, and I think you're right. There's 1 or 2 more.
There's gotta be. There's more.
There's definitely a few more because I didn't clock on it first, and then as soon as I did, I kept noticing. And at some point, someone like corrects him on one of them. It's a very strange running gag.
It was precipitously that got me because I was like, that was funny to me because like the word is precipitously, but also that is the wrong context to use precipitously, which I think is what made it a funny joke. Yeah, I don't know.
Have you guys ever heard of Father Divine? Like he was
the
like
God?
No, yeah, well, kinda. He was like the guy that inspired Jim Jones from Jonestown. Like he was like a proper cult leader before anyone knew what a cult was. And he was around from like the 1910s to the 1960s. And he was this like very charismatic man from like North America. He kept making up words in his sermons and people really thought that like flambastically. And like
it's fucking Glass Onion.
Flagitaciously, like words like that.
So they used to be religious cult leaders and now they're just fucking tech bros. I hate being alive.
Edward Norton actually would have fit into this movie. I feel like he would have.
You're right.
He would have absolutely chewed the scenery. Absolutely. He would have been the sleazy like company owner who like dad gave the company to.
I don't think it's possible for Ed Norton to be in a movie and not chew the scenery a little. He kind of does. Did you guys have any other things you wanted to talk about? Because otherwise, do you want to hear some trivia?
Oh, I love some trivia.
Yeah.
Give me some trivia.
Here's a couple of pieces of trivia. This first one I think you're really going to like and it's going to explain a lot. This movie was written for Mary-Kate Olsen and Ashley Olsen.
I was going to say, if you like ironically watching like Mary-Kate and Ashley Go to London or whatever, you will like this movie. That does not surprise me in the least.
100% scans as an Olsen Twins movie.
Did any of us have a Mary-Kate and Olsen phase? Because Mary-Kate and Ashley phase? I did. I definitely did.
Like watching their movies, you mean?
Yeah, and reading like the books
Again,
as well.
That was in that weird dark morass.
Yeah.
Reading their reading
There were like
their books?
there were little like Mary-Kate and Ashley books as well that you could get. And I was a Mary-Kate fan. All Mary-Kate, as if they were like actually separate people, which they weren't. But I was like, Mary-Kate's got an...
fuck?
No.
I mean,
in the
they
books
are.
and the TV,
Right.
in the movies, they're like the same characters.
Abby, you know how twins work.
No. When they're playing the characters, they are like dead on the same in the show and the books.
Right, okay.
But in real life, obviously, it's different. But when you're watching it, you're still like, I'm a Mary-Kate girl, even though they are portrayed in the exact same way.
Yeah.
But I was like, Mary-Kate's got an edge to her. I just can't describe it. I can't believe you guys didn't have a... God, you missed out. Missed out.
It was a lot easier for me to engage in things that were like borderline, this is for girls, but it, like if it's too girly, no family member would like buy it for me or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So like, which is often how young girls get exposed to this is marketed towards girl things, is it's just like handed to them.
I wanted there to be a mystery involved. Were you Nancy Drew or Hardy Boys or like Trixie Belden or Boxer? Like that was my jam.
Fair.
If there was not a mystery involved, I really didn't.
I wanted a murder involved. I wanted Goosebumps. I wanted...
Now, see, my parents are weird
Did
because
the
I had the
Mary-Kate
mysteries,
and
but it was
Ashley
the
branch out
Fabulous
genres?
Five.
No, it was always just like they go on a little adventure together.
Okay.
And they do fun.
I would
quirky
not be
things.
surprised to find out they had whole like little mini spin-offs of like I have no idea. This is blowing my mind that there were books.
Yeah, there were little bit. I remember me and my bestie in year 5 would like read them together in her room. We collected them together.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's amazing.
The rest of that same piece of trivia is Anne Hathaway and Lindsay Lohan both also auditioned for the roles that eventually went to the Duff sisters.
I would watch Anne Hathaway in this movie 1,000%.
Me too.
Coming
Anne
off Princess
Hathaway
Diaries to this.
Yes.
Quality up substantially.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
was this after Princess? Oh, it would be.
It would have been, right?
Also, would have been after
never
Ella.
mind.
Did you guys ever watch Ella Enchanted?
Oh,
Ella Enchanted
wow.
people?
I've watched Ella
Loved
Enchanted,
it.
but like when I was much older, my godkids were watching it, so it's like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Princess Diaries. I did watch a lot of
2001, so 5
Yeah,
years
Princess
prior.
Diaries.
Oh, wow. Because I feel like Anne Hathaway would have been a
I have
bit
no
too old
context
for
that.
it.
Yeah, she would
'Cause
have been
Devil
by
Wears
then.
Prada.
Even Princess Diaries, she feels she reads as slightly older than they are in here.
And I
Maybe just because she's slightly more self-aware. Like these are the two least self-aware protagonists in the history of protagonists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Even for something that's meant to be based, it's funny, the Sense and Sensibility thing. I was watching it, I'm like, it feels more like Emma.
Yeah.
It actually feels more like, I know that Austin plays a lot with how.
She was 18 when they did Princess Diaries.
Yeah, which means
she's
she
only
would have been
40 now.
23,
23?
23,
Because, guys, she
24
did
for
Devil
this.
Wears
yeah.
Prada in 2005.
Devil Wears Prada.
So that she would have been
You
an
can't
adult.
do Material Girls after Devil Wears Prada.
No.
That's crazy. Here's another piece of trivia. On March 31st, 2006, the entertainment site andpop.com reported that Lucas Haas had said he did not expect the film to be released.
Not just successful, released.
Further statements suggested the film was having trouble finding a distributor and being bought. On April 6, Box Office Mojo reported that the movie had finally been bought by MGM and would be released in August. It was released in 1,500 theaters and flopped.
It's actually yeah. So if this were made now, they would have just shelved it and it'd be a tax write-off.
Yeah, probably.
Basically.
Hillary improvised many lines and moments in the film, Coolidge noted on the DVD commentary. Among others, Hillary came up with the Lucy walk when the girls are dressed up as sassy maids and added the reference to women having their own buses in Japan and when the sisters are riding the public transport on the spot.
The Lucy, that makes sense because I actually,
makes sense.
that moment, I'm like, that's really quite funny, but it doesn't feel like it fits.
It's so incongruous with
It's
the scene,
so
but
incongruous.
it's like,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's a lovely bit, but it just
Yeah.
makes no sense in context. Yeah, it makes sense.
I do have to say, like, Hilary Duff has always given off sensational vibes. I just
Yeah.
feel like you'd meet her in person, she'd be the most pleasant.
And you
person.
watch her now again, like you watch her in Younger or How I Met Your
Yeah.
Dad, and you're like, her sensibilities, her comic timing, like impeccable.
Yeah,
like really, truly.
All I ever hear about her is like how polite she is and how, I don't know, like there's been a lot of like controversy because she hates her kids getting paparazzi'd.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, no,
She's very
I was reading
polite
about
with
that
them.
today.
How's that
yeah.
controversial?
Oh,
Well-
because the paparazzi hate it.
Exactly, because they fucking hate that she asks them to do anything. Like it's, yeah.
They're like, this entitled woman doesn't want us to take photos of her children.
Yeah, no shit,
Yeah.
Sherlock.
Fucking crazy.
Believe it or not, some people are like, that's stupid. You should let us take photos of your children. It's bizarre. But
Final piece of trivia is our perennial favorite, not screened for critics.
we've encountered that a lot.
Do you guys want to hear some reviews?
I feel like you should make this a drinking game, the not screened for critic, like certain things. Yeah.
Yeah. We should
Yes.
The podcast
Reviews.
not screened for critics.
Sorry.
Oh my So this movie has 4% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Jesus.
Even for Rotten Tomatoes, that is harsh.
Critics
Yeah.
fucking hated this.
Wow.
It's got 4.0 on IMDb.
Is it because it's for young women?
Who knows? Amelie Gillette of the AV Club said, their portrayal isn't some light send-up of materialism. It's a light endorsement of it. And that's sort of the theme of
That
most of the
tracks.
reviews is like, these are spoiled and entitled selfish brats. And actually the movie thinks that they're awesome.
Yeah.
Here's an IMDb review. I wish I could do like 8 of these. The IMDb reviews for this are easily some of my favorite I've read because they're clearly mostly written by 10-year-old girls.
Oh.
Which also means it's my favorite thing of a very poor
10-year-old
grasp
girls
of English.
In 2006? Or like, okay.
Because
yeah.
2006
Delicious.
means like peak IMDb, you know?
Yeah.
So this first one is titled, This Movie Was Both Good and Funny! By Dilcia31. This movie was better than I expected. I liked the diversity in the movie, and I never expected it to be so funny. The acting was great and real. There are parts played by Hilary Duff that I would have never seen her play. Like the part when she was dressed up like Julia Roberts, in brackets, mini skirt and a push-up bra, haha.
I love that as a 10-year-old, there being multiple parts played by one person playing a singular character is actually a boon and not a drawback.
I also like that it's clearly like when she dressed like Julia Roberts, you mean like a sex worker, in order to get paperwork that she needed to solve the case. Haley's role was good too, very sassy and controlling. The guys were just perfect. They were the cherry on the cake to make the movie perfect. No matter what the old guy critics say, which is just their opinion, this movie was really good and I recommend it. Plus,
I may disagree with her overall thesis, but all of her points are solid.
Yeah.
Plus, I got confused. It's PLUS, and I thought it was an acronym. It's not. It's just plus.
Yeah.
Plus, there's hilarious bloopers in the end. It was so funny. 10 out of 10.
Oh, bless.
Bless.
That could have been any of us, man.
Could have been any other.
2006.
Here's another review titled "I Love It" by Dempsey Rocks.
Dempsey Rocks?
Yeah, this would have been peak Dempsey.
Who's
Patrick Dempsey?
It must have been Grey's Anatomy, right?
Yeah, Grey's Anatomy. This is
yeah.
peak Patrick Dempsey, Grey's Anatomy, heartthrob era.
Yeah.
The James Marsden of his day.
They have very similar energy.
Bite your tongue. Really?
No, I mean, James Marsden's way more charming, but they both have similar, like, handsome man vibe that are underutilized. Patrick Dempsey has more in him.
Patrick Dempsey is always more troubled. And
I think James Marsden's better. I think that both are underutilized in very different ways.
Listeners, this is an audio medium, so you do not see that I'm crossing my arms and glaring
Yeah,
right
look,
now.
Mel's
I am
just
yet to
like-
be convinced.
look, Mel has made me hate Whiplash, so just do whatever she says, all right?
Yeah, to Patrick
You have to
Dempsey
agree.
sucks.
No, I did not say that. I just said
Oh
that
my-
James Marsden is incredible.
I agree with you there.
Sorry, continue.
It's a good movie. They both... Oh, sorry, it's one of these. It's a good movie. They both can act, and they are really good singers. If you can't accept that they made something with their lives, then quit hating on them. It's not like you even know that at all. What are you doing that's so good in our life that makes you good enough to say they suck? Well, they don't anyways. If you don't like Hilary, why did you go see the movie? Everyone should go see it. It's a great it's a great lesson in life, and it is great to watch and laugh. I just wanted to say this movie was a good one and keep doing what you're doing, Hilary and Haley. I think I spelled it wrong, but I'm in a hurry. If you like the Duffs, then see this movie. If you don't, then don't. But if you are a hater and just want something to complain about, then get off the site. 10 out of 10.
That was impressive.
Somebody should pay you to do these.
Truly.
Like,
Well,
honestly.
that's the goal.
There's got to be some ASMR like site that will definitely pay you to just do these.
So we'll actually make vastly more profit if we just cut the bits where I do the reviews and then put them separately.
We've had a lot of reviews where there's no punctuation, so we've had to do it as one long sentence. I think we should get a compilation of all of those and put it together. Truly breathtaking.
And by we mean Michelle.
Or a dedicated fan. Wink, wink.
I love those kinds, and I also love these ones. There's a lot of ellipses in this. Very funny. Oh, sorry. This is hilarious by Water Skier 92. I guess that must be like a tech company in 2021 about water skiing. Very funny. People have trashed this movie, but the reality is it was really funny and entertaining. Recommended by everyone I know. It is a great pick-me-up. Not a bad storyline. Everyone in the theater was laughing hysterically. Hilary and her sister look very pretty and the outfits are just great. People should stop trying to trash it and just enjoy it because it was really good. I know it hasn't opened everywhere yet, so some people can't see it. I don't know what else to write, but I need 10 lines, so you can stop reading now. Have a nice day. Go see the movie. You will love it very much. Friends don't let friends ride public transportation. That's from the trailer. 10 out of 10.
When they get on the bus and they don't know how to pay and then they just turn and everyone's glaring at them, I'm like, I am all of these riders on the bus right now.
Also though, when they're looking at the maps and stuff, I'm like, LA's public transport is famously pretty awful. So
Yeah.
I kind of get that.
Oh, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
But that was their reviews.
You made Mel cry.
I am actually, readers, listeners, I am actually literally
The reviews are sometimes my favorite part of the show.
Oh my god.
But hey, that was Water Skier 92's review. Abby, what was your review?
This was a 4.2, right?
This is a 4.
This is a 4?
Yeah.
We're down to 4?
We're finally down to 4.
Holy shit. Sorry, that's
Wait.
monumental.
You're about to bake with barrier.
Yeah, we
The
are.
first 4 was actually wounds. I just think we
okay.
forgot it last week. Oh, no, sorry, not last week. Ages ago. 2 months ago.
Yeah. So, considering it's a 4 on IMDb, I love a good film for teenage girls and for young girls. I love appropriations. I love it when people take text and make it fun. But as soon as I found out that this was meant to be Sense and Sensibility, it was game over. Like, I came into this podcast, this episode, with a lot of like love in my heart and a lot of space to explore and accept this film. And as soon as I found that out, it was dead to me. I'm giving it a 1. It's done.
Wow. That's pretty intense. Mel, what was your review?
Allow me a slight rabbit trail for a moment. There were a few years where I was working weird hours, and my best mate, whom I was living with at the time, I was living with him, and he had a baby who was born preemie, and so required like a lot of care and like overnight. And I would come home from work at like 2 a.m. and Dale would have just gotten done, like, you know, he'd been on like 18 hours of childcare, and we'd pass Sean off.
This is pretty funny.
Jess. Yeah, and what we would do is we would pass Sean off, and then we would it'd be like 2 a.m. and we would just, you know, get drunk and or stoned and turn on the worst movies that we could possibly think of, and then we would just have the best time of our lives, like watching, you know, Piranaconda, Sharktopus, like all of these types of, and I was watching this film going, even though it's not quite the genre that we usually went for, I was watching this film going, I wish that it were 2 a.m. and I was upstairs in sub-zero temperatures in Wisconsin, bundled up, drunk off my ass, watching this film with my best mate, and just like laughing at how absurd and tonally inconsistent and ridiculous and rich and unself-aware it was. And so like if you go in with that exact mindset, you will love this movie. Like it's not just of its time, it's of a very specific viewing place.
Hey, you're talking to someone who my connection with bad movies is growing up. My desperately sad and troubled mother wanted to be able to spend some quality time with her equally desperately sad and quiet child, and so we bonded over watching these awful movies. These movies can bring joy. They're bad, but
and I mean, Michelle is the person that introduced me to terrible films. It's not like I hadn't seen them as a kid, but my true appreciation came from meeting someone that truly appreciated it already.
Thank you.
Bad movie nights changed my life.
But you have to give it a number value, because that's how IMDb works, and that's what we're
It's not
modeling
about feelings, it's about numbers.
I'm of the Roger Ebert school of theory in that I absolutely hate assigning star reviews.
I'm sorry, but this isn't the Roger Ebert podcast. This is the IMDb.
And also on this podcast, we say Roger Ebert.
Roger Ebert. So wait, this
Roger
is
Ebert.
out of IMDb's out of 10.
Yeah.
Correct?
We don't believe in the rating system, but that is the system imposed upon us.
We are contractually obliged
We're contractually applied.
to also give our own rating.
You know, I've listened to this podcast for several months, and yet for some reason coming on, I was completely unprepared for this moment, when obviously I knew that, I think it was like subconsciously, I was just so horrified that I was just like repress.
40 minutes of listening to us, your brain must be mush.
Yeah.
I will give this, I think it's got to be a solid, God.
Search your heart. Say what rings true.
Like, the good thing is that the
2.7.
stakes are so low.
2.7.
2.7.
Respectable.
Yeah.
It's respectable. It's fair.
Yeah, far more fair than my review, for sure.
I mean, it means, look, advanced spoiler, it's going to continue at least 50% of the way the trend of usually guests rate these movies lower than we do, because their brains are not spoiled by
We
this
were
list.
so much better when we started.
I think if you can't, I think the other issue for me, and I know I haven't mentioned this at all until now, and suddenly I bring it up, so it feels unfair, but that you can watch this and all of a sudden you're in a scene that is clearly a set, like clearly just some plywood that they've popped up, and then all of a sudden in the next scene you're in someone's like obscenely lavish, expensive house that they've rented out for $1 million,
Yeah.
and you're like, the disparity between the two is so wild. I would possibly rate it higher, but that was really, really throwing me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, it's fair, because on the one hand, like my memory of it and the joy of talking about it, I'm like, yeah, this I get 4. And then I think about it and I'm like, actually, a lot of this movie really quite irritated me. It was really quite bothersome.
All the bits where they kept thinking it was funny to have all the bit characters who were like being really loud and obnoxious and go shh, 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 shh for like 30 seconds straight. And you're like, I get it. You can stop now.
Yeah. Also, Michelle, don't be afraid to rate this low because we found shockingly that as the films were getting worse, our ratings were getting higher because we're getting dumber.
Is it Stockholm Syndrome?
Yeah. And we were like, I'm making an active effort to try and decrease my ratings because I just need to break that pattern.
Yeah, this movie has some tedium. Look, I do want to rate it lower, but I know what the 2s are. Like I've said before, for me, 2 is a movie, and I've broken that sometimes, but like that I have to hold onto something. And there's many movies I've given like 2.5 or 2.7 that I think are worse than this. I think this is a 3.3.
Yeah.
I think
1 3 for each Duff sister.
Yeah, exactly. Each of them were a 3, and so that's a 3.3. Well, that was nope. That's
a podcast.
Oh my god, we really don't know how to pivot here. Fucking hell.
We've done this 2.5 years, and this is the sticky bit.
How do we not get that? You know what?
Figure it out.
Social media. That's crazy. Why don't we talk about it? We've got some of that. Well, we're on Twitter at RateDescendPod. We're on TikTok at RatingDescending. Or you can email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com. I love reading the emails. I love the fans.
Or you can find us on our personal accounts. I'm on Insta under Abigail J. Ward. Mel, are you?
I'm on all the things at either Mel Killingsworth or Mel's Bells, annoyingly spelled with an H because every other spelling was taken.
Fair.
But
Where's
if you
the
Google
H?
Mel Killingsworth, Mel's.
Oh, right.
Mechel's Bells.
I also
Bells.
run an Instagram and Twitter and Facebook called Shot Zero, where we
great.
analyze film and television shots and scenes and what makes them work.
I really enjoy it. Yeah.
I follow you guys too.
And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Michelle.St. Also, because I'm really bad at plugging things, please go watch No Ordinary Love on YouTube. There'll be other series that I'm going to plug soon.
I have friends that we literally simultaneously watch K-dramas together. So I'm gonna put this out, and there will be 4 people watching No Ordinary Love at the same time from all around the world.
Hell yeah.
Do you have anything to plug, Mel? Anything that you have going on that you want the world to know about?
If you are a producer who likes noir feature films, I desperately have a script that is waiting for you.
Yeah. Well, that was Material Girls. Abby, what are we watching next week?
Next week, we're watching Halloween Resurrection.
Well, I liked the original Halloween, and I really don't want to have to watch the rest of them. Well, but they're resurrecting. Are they resurrecting him, or are they resurrecting?
Also, what year did this come out? Halloween Resurrection.
Who knows?
I don't know anything
Wasn't
about
Halloween
it.
rebooted like 80 fucking times?
Yeah, I thought it was
There's
thought it
more.
was over.
There's more now as well, though. Oh, 2002.
That's a bad time.
That's not going to be a good one.
No.
Oh.
Well, join us then.
Wow, this Wikipedia literally describes it as the unnecessary sequel to Halloween H2O.
Wow, you guys
Jesus.
really know how to sell a podcast.
Which I imagine is a sequel to H2O, Just Add Water
Yes.
or whatever.
the mermaid one.
Yeah. Cleo. Oh no. Mike Myers, no.
Well, join us next week. And thank you so much, Mel, for coming on this episode.
you.
You've been a delight and a treasure all at the same time.
A delightful treasure. That's me.
And now all of us are the Material Girls.
Yes, together we've become Material Girls.
In a material world.
Material Girl. Oh god, I had to do it one time. It's been in my head all fucking week because of this
Me too.
stupid fucking episode.
You're welcome.